Good day to everyone. Welcome to a series of DhammaTalks organized by Buddhist Sangha Youth of Thailand on WBTV, World Buddhist TV, Wat Janava, Bangkok, Thailand. I am Pramaha Sompong Santachito, serving as the moderator of the program, and today again we have a very special guest because as the Buddhist show, I would like to bring some monks or novice or even the professional Buddhist professional to share you with the Buddha Dharma or experience, and then we will talk about many different aspect, especially from the different angle points. Then we can understand more about Dharma from different angle, not just only from the Theravada tradition or even from Thai points, but from American or Western or European or Australian or whatever, and then we can know more and understand more how we can adjust ourselves to the modern technology or modern information societies. That's why we call it globalization society, to help us to survive as you know, not the strongest person, not the the finest person to survive in our world, but the one who can adapt themselves, to the society, to the different circumstance, and then they can survive and they can understand. This correspond with the teaching of the Buddha about how we can understand the world and the Dhamma together, compared to the one who got the two eyes, two eyes, not the blind eyes, but as the looking eyes, to see everything as they are, even the world, not just only Dhamma. That's why we have the wonderful a person, to share with us. Welcome.
Sawadee-ka.
Jim. How are you?
Very happy to be here again and to see you again.
Yeah.
This is
Nice to see
very
you.
nice.
So Jim, last talk we have discussed about the rainy season, right? And then we would like to share some experience, your experience with the audience about the writing, especially composing book, or even the wonderful time during the rain retreats, and even in USA during your time in 1973, as you mentioned, with the Zen tradition, or even the others talks about how we can make application of Buddha Dharma to modern society. So today I would like to invite you to discuss about the technology, especially blog, right? As the blog, the website, or even I have heard that you would like to bring some your spiritual journey map into the website, make it interactive. Is that correct?
Well, certainly that's the idea.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it is important, and I think that it needs to be appreciated, that recognizing the current conditions and the way people are perceiving their own personal conditions,
right.
It's important, very important for the Sangha to do that. My, let's say, criticism of the Sangha is mostly they take care of themselves. If you want to participate in that community, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And they welcome everyone, and I think their generosity and their compassion in that regard is extraordinary.
Right.
it turns out that not everyone's going to make that choice. And I think it's incumbent upon us to go ahead and try to understand the differences, appreciate the differences as not anything but different. It's only different. It's neither good nor bad. It's just different. And that it's incumbent upon us to go ahead and appreciate the differences and then answer or address issues in that way. The web, of course, is the vehicle for communicating with others. It's an extraordinary vehicle. Actually was invented in Geneva. It wasn't an American invention.
No.
You know, Bill Gates didn't invent this. But everyone now is able to utilize this vehicle, and it's a marvelous way of organizing information in accessible ways.
Right.
There's a blog page, which means that you can add your comments to the specific issues that are dealt with on that particular page.
Right.
And on the .com, you have a much more of a flexible vehicle in order to introduce the idea of Dharma in, I think, a more experiential way. Now, almost all academics are academic, which means that they want information in a certain way.
Yep.
It turns out that most people are experiential learners. I think it's about 80% experiential learners and 20% academics. Well, it turns out the academics wind up to be teachers and go to college and monopolize the academic community. It doesn't mean the experiential learners are less intelligent. That's not true. They just learn differently.
Right. Exactly.
And it turns out that it's the experimental people that build the buildings, build the equipment, turn on the lights, keep the lights going, keep the cars going.
Right.
Without the experiential people, the academic people would really have nothing to do.
Maybe the experienced people, they use their energy,
Well, it's just a different way of perceiving the world.
All right, exactly.
For example, in the Mahayana tradition, when you see the hands, you see eyes on the hands and the feet and the forehead, and sometimes here.
Right, it's like a satika. We call the like a Nazi.
Well,
Nazi
the swastika is an ancient, worthy symbol.
Right.
That actually Hitler asked Gurdjieff in 1926 for a mystical symbol. Just to give you just some insight on this. And Gurdjieff didn't like the Nazis. So what he did is he took the swastika and reversed it. From the Mahayana tradition, which made it a negative signal, symbol. And then he said, take this one. But it did actually, many people don't understand the different directions of this, and they kind of look at that symbol now with, let's say, regret or confusion, when in fact it's a very ancient symbol of virtue, actually, and understanding. Anyway, the eyes and the hands means the hands know what to do right. They don't make mistakes. Eyes and your feet basically means you get to the right place at the right time. That you know where you're going, you know where you are. Many academics don't know where they are. I mean, I've certainly been around plenty of them. In fact, I've been accused of being one myself from time to time. But actually, I am an experiential learner that happens to be able to deal with the academics enough to not get kicked out of the room. But nevertheless, it takes this, I think, a combinations of skills of both the academic and the experiential to appreciate that you can translate some very sophisticated material into very simple terms that can be used in an experiential way on an interactive web page that will help you appreciate better the whole history of Buddha Dharma and the whole objective in helping people appreciate, let us say, the clarity in their lives, the virtue, the caring, the loving kindness that exists there that sometimes is underappreciated. Right. So that's certainly what I'm going to use the .com page for, is to use the to translate the Tambolian map, which is essentially a map of your mind with all the lights turned on.
Yeah.
The meditation here is that most people live their life as if they were in a room with all the lights turned off. And they bump into things like relationships and money and business and what people think of you and all sorts of other issues that they actually don't know how to manage. They don't know where they come from. They're bumping into things in a dark room.
Right.
An epiphany or an insight here would be if someone turned a light on in that room.
Right.
Well, what happened I think even before the Buddha, and certainly the Buddha utilized this meditational practices, and I suspect he was introduced to these practices during the 6-year period where he in fact was doing these practices or these kinds of practices. He basically understood what the mind was like with all the lights turned on. What he was able to do in that regard is essentially touch the earth and say, this is the truth. He was able to penetrate that particular mystical practice to the point where he understood the virtue he understood the virtue to the point where it was real rather than just academic. And that's the difference between academic and experiential.
Right.
And so part of the effort here, and I think it's going to be a virtuous one or a reasonable one or an understandable one, that the interactive aspect of the net will be able to help others appreciate the huge amount of effort and the huge amount of time and discipline it took to get this information and maintain it for 2,500 years in such a way that we could translate it and use it now. And appreciating that contribution that the Sangha, the Buddha Sangha in their tradition and their academic discipline was able to do. And so rather than having a separation, I'm rather hoping that each can value the other's contribution in helping one another out in many different ways and understanding that.
Right. But you mean it's time for us to learn from each other and join hand to understand, each other, one another. Is that correct?
I certainly hope so. And I think even looking at taking that same idea and looking at social conflicts, even in America as it exists in Asia, and the problems that arise, I think reminding each other that we actually are important to one another.
Right.
And that the jobs that you do are as important as the jobs that I do, and that figuring out a way of bridging, or let's say, for example, we're at the boat, the temple with the boat that carries the information across the confusion so that we can connect with one another on our various different islands of understanding. And I think utilizing the symbolism of the Buddha boat as a way of connecting all of these isolated places is important.
Yeah, I hope you maybe gonna write books about the symbolism, Buddhist symbolism in the future.
Well, that's the next book we're going to do. It's called The Voyage of the Dream Maker, which is the boat.
Okay, Voyage of the Dream Maker. It's very nice title.
It is the Voyage of the Dream Maker. I began writing maybe 20 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh.
And I just collected little ideas and just kept moving them from one computer to the next, and they keep surviving the transition somehow. And a year or so ago, I organized it into a complete manuscript. It was lots of fun. And what it is a book that I would have liked to have read when I was a young adult. It looks at the journey not in an exciting way rather than an exclusive way. And that ordinary people could say yes and go on the journey and understand that you didn't necessarily have to become enlightened and a Buddha and an Arhat and eulogized by thousands of Arhats to be okay. That a little bit okay is good. And that applying this these little insights into your life augments and helps you live a more wholesome and virtuous life.
Yeah.
In fact, very few people even want to be recognized as a Buddha. Certainly in this environment where that whole idea would be misunderstood in an extraordinarily inappropriate way,
Yeah.
I think it would be better appreciated that little understandings are wonderful little presents to have in your life. And that's what the manuscript tries to do.
So you mean the next one?
The Voyage of the Dreammaker.
What's a Dreammaker?
The one I'm working on now is called Filling in the Gaps.
Filling the gap.
And throughout history, you get little bits of information that is helpful, like as above, so below, or good karma or bad karma, or enlightenment. And you go, well, I'm here and this information is over here. How do I get through the gap between where I am and where I would like to be?
Right.
And so the next book is trying to, let's say, appreciate those gaps and the contribution they make in your life, and how that you can, let us say, appreciate these different places and understand better how they're connected. And it's like looking at an island chain like Hawaii. You have like 8 or 9 different islands. If the ocean level dropped, you would see that they were just mountains in a plain. And that's what the gap or exploring the gaps tries to do, is to recognize how each of these different places are connected in very important ways.
Yeah.
For example, choosing the lifestyle as a mendicant and a monk seems isolating and separate. But it turns out that it's only different. We're all connected in a very important way.
Right.
And that valuing those differences and different choices adds a lot of flavor. In fact, it makes life more exciting. And I think it's important for us to recognize that from, let us say, the mendicant's point of view, life in the other places has extraordinary virtue and interest, and there's no reason why they can't understand things comparably. So that's what I try to do in the next manuscript.
Okay, I hope you can, accumulate more experience and then put in your idea or experience into the book and then share with the audience.
Well, I remember one of my early English teachers said that you should actually have some experiences before you write. You shouldn't write before you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably at that point where I've had a fair number of experiences, and that writing is not inappropriate. I think I could not have done this 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, and been able to capture the perspective, the overall perspective as well.
Yep.
And so we will continue on in this vein, and we'll see what happens.
So that's why I quite appreciate your works, your devotion, devoted efforts, to, making, a contribution, to writing some book, concerning Buddhism, or even the Dhamma. Sometimes it's not totally, Buddhist, term, whatever about Buddhism, but your idea mostly is a Dhamma idea, and to share with the people to make them understand about life and more, understand. That's why I think it's now you have the plan about the writings of publication, and as well you have about the plan, the blog or homepage. That I think is two of this job related. and help each other.
It's an adventure.
Adventure. So in the end, Jim, I would like you to conclude today for 1 minute. Say something to the audience. Yep.
I think it's important to appreciate literature and the contribution literature makes and can make in your life. It enables you to open up a window in a part of your mind that needs some fresh air and some exciting new horizons to look at that may be harder to see without literature. And I think that understanding and appreciating that someone has opened up that window, and sharing that experience with you in a very personal way is something that you might want to understand when you open up a book and try to feel that sharing and that concern or that appreciation of one another that many people can sometimes capture in their literature.
Right. Thank you so much. สำหรับในช่วงท้ายของรายการอาตมาภาพขอสรุปเป็นภาษาไทยเหมือนเช่นเคยก็ได้สนทนากับอาจารย์หรือว่าสามเณรจิมนะสามเณรจิมก็ได้สนทนากันในวันนี้ก็เป็นเรื่องของหนังสือกับเว็บบล็อกนะฮะในเรื่องของการทำเว็บบล็อกหรือการเกื้อหนุนกันในการที่จะเผยแผ่คำสอนหลักธรรมคำสอนทางพระพุทธศาสนาหรือแม้กระทั่งประสบการณ์ในการที่จะเขียนหนังสือนะฮะได้เขียนได้อะไรก็สามารถที่จะไปสร้างเว็บไซต์หรือบล็อกเพื่อที่จะนำเสนอผลงานตรงนั้นทำให้คนที่อยู่ในที่ต่างๆก็สามารถที่จะเข้าถึงหลักธรรมคำสอนหรือประสบการณ์ที่จะแบ่งปันกับคนทั่วโลกหรืออีกส่วนหนึ่งของโลกได้นั่นก็ถือว่าเป็นสิ่งที่เราต้องให้ความใส่ใจโดยเฉพาะในยุคสมัยปัจจุบันถือว่าเป็นยุคเทคโนโลยีแต่ว่าเราจะใช้เทคโนโลยียังไงนั้นให้เป็นประโยชน์ในการที่จะเผยแผ่พระพุทธศาสนาซึ่งตอนนี้อาจารย์จิมหรือสามเณรจิมเนี่ยก็ได้มีโอกาสได้เขียนหนังสือหลังจากที่ครั้งก่อนเราก็ได้กล่าวถึงในเรื่องของ Buddhist Humor ครั้งนี้เราก็ได้กล่าวถึงในเรื่องของหนังสือเล่มที่2เล่มที่3ของสามเณรจิมนะท่านก็เขียนหนังสือเพื่อที่จะนำหลักธรรมไปประยุกต์ใช้ให้เหมาะกับปริบทสังคมโดยเฉพาะในสังคมตะวันตกซึ่งต้องการนำเสนออีกแบบตะวันตกนะสังคมตะวันออกก็ต้องการนำเสนอแบบตะวันออกแต่ว่าเราจะทำยังไงอาตมาภาพในฐานะที่เป็นพระนะในทางพระพุทธศาสนาในประเทศไทยนี่ก็ถือว่าพยายามที่จะให้ชาวตะวันตกได้มีโอกาสได้เรียนรู้พระพุทธศาสนาจากนั้นก็จะได้นำไปสอนคนของเขานี่ก็คือเป็นหลักการที่ว่าคนของเขาถึงจะรู้ว่าเขาต้องการอะไรมากที่สุดแต่ว่าเราหน้าที่ของเราก็คือเราหาคนที่เก่งหาคนที่สนใจจริงๆมานำเสนอมาถ่ายทอดแล้วก็มาให้ประสบการณ์อาจารย์จิมก็ได้กล่าวถึงหลักของการเขียนนะว่าเขาก็จำได้ว่าครูในวัยประถมหรือว่าครูภาษาอังกฤษของเขาได้สอนว่าจะต้องมีประสบการณ์ก่อนในการที่จะเข้าใจอะไรสักอย่างก่อนที่จะลงมือเขียนนะบางทีถ้าจะลงมือเขียนไปก่อนแล้วไม่มีความคิดไม่มีประสบการณ์ก็จะเขียนไปไม่ได้นี่เขาก็จำมาเพื่อที่จะถ่ายทอดตั้งแต่บัดนั้นเป็นต้นมาก็ถือว่าเป็นสิ่งที่น่าสนใจและน่านำไปคิดนะครับโดยเฉพาะพระสงฆ์ไทยเองในปัจจุบันนี้เราก็ควรที่จะมีการเขียนนะฮะหรือว่าการนำเสนอผลงานด้านการเขียนทางด้านบทความในหนังสือพิมพ์การเขียนบทความในนิตยสารรายปักษ์หรือว่าการเขียนทำทางพุทธศาสนาความคิดเห็นทางพุทธศาสนาโดยนำหลักการทางพุทธศาสนานั้นไปใช้อันนี้ก็ถือว่าเป็นสิ่งที่อาตมาภาพซึ่งกำลังจะจัดอบรมนักเขียนพระนักเขียนในวันที่25ถึงวันที่29ตุลาคมนี้หลังจากออกพรรษาก็ถือว่าเป็นอีกโปรเจกต์หนึ่งในส่วนที่ ได้นำเสนอทางศูนย์ของยุคพุทธสงฆ์ประเทศไทยนะครับ In the end of program I would like to show you about our publication again. Maybe some of you just the first time to view this show. You see the first book about Buddhist English, especially one who take interest in Buddhism. Our concept is 3 in 1. One is Buddhism, and the second is English, and the third about the theme that we would like to present to you. For example, in this book about the Buddhist institutes. That's why you can more and more appreciate about the Buddhism in English in different aspects. So the second volumes we have the DhammaTalks for some of you to have more confidence when you would like to present the Dhamma, or you would like to share the Dhamma with the foreign, English speaking people or foreigners, especially English speaking people. You can have this book in your book cabinet, and then you can get more and more confidence to in speaking English or even sharing your idea with them. So another one is the สอนโลกให้เก่ง Okay, this is สอนโลกให้เก่ง In Thai we have actually 4 series of the สอนโลกให้เก่งสอนโลกหลากวิธีสอนโลก 4 volumes. This is the first one, and the second one สอนโลกให้ดีสอนโลกให้มีความสุขสอนโลกให้ใฝ่เรียนใฝ่รู้ 3 book, and even the 3 of love and the another volumes. And exactly this, you get familiar with this one, the Buddhist humor. Our authors, on my left hand side, he's gonna to write the many books, will be launched out soon. And so if you take interest, you want to learn more about us, please contact us below. Address. I will put even the Novice Venerable Gym blog, website, or whatever in our, and then you can take note, remember the address, can access to see more and more. So for today, I'm Pramaha Sompong. Thank you very much for your viewing our show. If you have any comments, to share with us, please let us know. Don't worry about anything. We just appreciate and happy to accept, to welcome your comments. So for this time, thank you very much. Same time, same place. Until then.